On the early hours of Monday, at about 6:15 a.m., the manager of a restaurant, Patrick Maurice, opened up the store after it was closed down for 3 days due to renovations. He was in the company of 2 police officers and a police detective who had been on a case that happened on the late night shift last Thursday, which is precisely 3 days ago before the restaurant had closed down for renovations. Patrick was called in for questioning by the police because he was the last person to leave the restaurant. In fact, he was the one who closed up the place. After Patrick gave his statement, it was decided that 2 police officers, along with the detective, go over to the restaurant to see things for themselves. This is why they are here, and so they began their work, looking for anything that can be a clue to aid the case. After searching for some time, they ended the investigation and was about to leave, but the detective pointed out one last place to check. Originally, they had come up to this place before when they started the search, but Patrick told them that it was just the storage units where perishable goods were kept. Now the detective, who had full focus on this particular place, realized that this storage unit was actually a walk-in freezer, and so he ordered Patrick to open it up. And when Patrick opened it up, he just stood in front of it, unmoving, with tears streaming down his face. The police ended up arresting him. This is the story of what actually happened. At about 6 p.m. that Thursday, 3 days ago, Gemma, a 26-year-old college student working part-time at this restaurant, walked in to start her shift, which is the last shift for the day. Now, Gemma was supposed to clock in at 4 p.m. As it is, she's 2 hours late. It turns out that this isn't the first time she's coming in late. As a matter of fact, she has been coming in late for the past 3 weeks in a row, and it has attracted the attention of the manager, Patrick Maurice, who has queried her multiple times, cut her paycheck, and done about almost anything to get her to take the job seriously. But as of today, Patrick has had enough of her and has come to the conclusion of letting her go. He literally made up his mind to fire her today. Having thought about all this, Gemma discreetly entered through the kitchen back door, changed into her waiter clothes, and quietly blended in with the others and began attending to customers while doing all she can to avoid Patrick. But what she didn't know was that Patrick did not confront her or call her in, because as of tonight, he needed all hands on deck and had planned to fire her at the end of the day and use the next 3 days that the restaurant will close down for renovations to find her replacement. Soon enough, the restaurant closed up for the day, and as the employees started signing out at the end of their shift, Gemma heard the voice of the assistant manager call out to her, saying that the manager wants her in his office. And so, Gemma just let out a deep sigh and made her way to his office. Few minutes later, the assistant manager walked into Patrick's office just to let him know that she was through with her duties and was about to leave. There, she met Gemma talking to Patrick, begging him to give her one more chance as she brought up different excuses why she had come in late today, promising it won't happen ever again. But Patrick already had his mind made up and did not care about what she said. Seeing all this, the assistant manager, who always had a soft spot for Gemma, pleaded on her behalf, telling Patrick not to fire Gemma, that she will work overtime to compensate for her lateness. Patrick agreed. A fresh delivery of groceries laid stacked nearby, items he needed to personally check and record before closing. Now that the inventory was cleared, the restocking still remained, and so he told Gemma she was free to leave once she finished arranging everything into the pantry and the freezer. Immediately, Gemma got to work. After spending about an hour unpacking the items from the box to the pantry, all that remained now is to load the perishable items into the freezer. As she was about to start, she heard her phone ring. She picked it up and it was her roommate calling to check up on her because she hasn't been out this late before. Gemma, who is exhausted from all the work, tells her that something came up and she is almost done and will soon be home. She ended the call, checked the time on her phone. It's few minutes past 11 p.m. and she began to hastily finish up so she can go home before it gets really late. She grabbed a box that contained fresh batch of meat and made her way over to the freezer. As she got there, she pulled open the door, then put the box of meat down at the foot of the door to stop it from closing. Essentially, she used it as a wedge, as it was known that the door of this walk-in freezer had some issues, and as such, it doesn't stay put when it's opened. And so Gemma went to and fro to get the remaining items into the freezer. She did so until what was left was the meat inside the box she used to wedge the door. She then began taking out the meat bit by bit and arranging it inside the freezer. Gradually, the weight of the box slowly started to reduce and it wasn't heavy enough to keep the door open. Gemma, who was in haste, was totally oblivious of what was happening and had no idea that the door was inching closer and closer with every item she took out of it. She grabbed a handful, then turned around to go put it in its place when she heard the sound of a thick metal slam behind her. She turned around only to see the box at the feet of the door that has now closed in. She wasn't particularly worried because inside this freezer there is a safety release button, and so she carried on with what she was doing. Patrick came over to the pantry where she's supposed to be working to tell her that he's leaving, and all he saw was the empty boxes and the pantry well arranged. He called out to her, but there was no response, and so he figured that she had finished her work and left. And since she's probably mad at him for putting her through that much work all alone, she left angrily without letting him know. And so he turned off all the lights, locked the place up and made his way home. Now Gemma, who was still in the freezer, finished up with what she was doing, walked up to the door and pushed the internal safety plunger, but it didn't respond. She tried again and again, still it did not respond. Now she became worried and began banging on the door, hoping Patrick would hear her and open it up from the outside. The next morning, Gemma's roommate woke up and realized that Gemma did not come back home last night, and so she called her again, but this time the call didn't go through. Few hours later, Gemma hadn't returned home and did not call in on her whereabouts. Now concerned, she went over to the restaurant to go check up on her, and when she got there, she met the place under construction. Hours turned into days, and eventually Patrick was called in by the police in regards to the disappearance of his employee, whose last location was his restaurant. After taking his statement, the police decided to go check out the place. The investigation led up to Patrick opening up the walk-in freezer. He was only arrested because there had been several reports about that particular freezer and many other equipment in the establishment which he knowingly neglected.